What's up, guys? Thanks so much for clicking on the video. My name is Leah, and you're tapped into Continue or Not, which is a series that I created where I let you know whether or not you should add something to your watch list or you should not throw it in the trash and find something else. Now, in this episode of Continue or Not, we're going to be talking about Haruhisa Nakata. I hope I pronounced that correctly. New manga series called The Nightlight Hounds. So let's get into a brief synopsis. So it says Jimmy is a gang member in one of the world's few underground cities, Silent Bay City. One day he meets a girl and gets embroiled in a fight between creatures of the night. So, like the synopsis said, Jimmy is our protagonist. Jimmy is probably between the ages of like 18 and 21, but he's an orphan and he chooses to join this gang. When we first get introduced to him, he's actually like hesitating to snuff this guy out in front of his gang. And they're like, Jimmy, you can't hesitate, you just gotta do it. And they're trying to all like welcome him into the fold. He ends up having a friend that is like running away from the gang because he's like, I want to live a better life. Like, I need to get out this city. And honestly, this city to me is like Gotham City, but during the 1930s, during the Great Depression era, where it's like everybody knows that the people that are uber wealthy all have ties to a crime organization. So most people kind of look the other way, and everyone's just kind of looking out for themselves and their families just so they don't get caught up. So Jimmy is on top of a building just thinking about his life decisions, thinking about the family he doesn't have anymore, and how at this point he's ready to like end it all. And then next thing you know, Lily pops up, but at the time she doesn't have a name. Jimmy and her begin to like play around on top of the roof, and Lily saves Jimmy from, taking his own life, and he ends up naming her. He didn't know he named her, but Lily ended up liking the name that he gave her, and they end up becoming friends. Now, as the night goes on, you end up seeing Jimmy get summoned by his boss to be like, hey, we need you to go run an errand for us. He ends up going to this shed, and it's full of nothing but dead bodies, okay? And Jimmy is shocked, appalled, and disgusted, and scared out of his mind. Then the introduction of vampires comes in at that point. We find out that Jimmy's boss at the time is actually a vampire. So Jimmy is once again saved by Lily, but this time it's her in her werewolf form, and she's accompanied by her handler, Kay, who we find out is the director of the Night Hound investigation teams, whose whole objective is to eliminate vampires that are lurking in the Lakeside Fellas, which is basically the crime organization that runs the entire Silent Bay City. So now that Jimmy has been saved twice by Lily and he's introduced to Kay, he is pretty much forced into the Lakeside Fellas because they saved him. They burned down the shed, and that was the supply source, or the food supply source, for a fraction of the Lakeside Fellas, mainly Darthra's fraction, who is this sexy vampire who is evil, but I like her for right now until she do something totally messed up. But she is one of the underbosses of Lakeside Fellas, and currently in a succession war with a human who is a part of another fraction named Leo. And Leo, even though he is human, is just as ruthless, if not more ruthless, than Darthra. And they are both bidding for the bosses, who is Leo's uncle's main spot because he is due to retire. So with Jimmy being forcibly initiated into the Lakeside Fellas, mainly Darthra's side of the crime family, it is now giving him the opportunity, with this whole succession war happening back and forth between Leo and Darthra, a chance for him to be an informant for the Night Hounds. Jimmy accepts being an informant for the Night Hounds mainly because he wants to get out of the city, but he also wants to take Lily with him. With Lily being a werewolf and being a creation of the Night Hound organization, she doesn't have that long to live. So Jimmy's whole goal is to help them eliminate basically all of the vampires in the city so that he and Lily can leave the city and live a life of normalcy. So currently, the series has 6 chapters. It gets released every Friday or every other Friday. And what I will say is, I'm enjoying the series. We're 6 chapters in, and I patiently wait every Friday. I'm always checking my manga app to see if it's being updated because I really enjoy it. I think that's a good sign that you have created a captivating story when your reader wants more and I want more. And I also feel like the story came out during the perfect timing where a lot of the new manga that's being released is very like supernatural, exorcist, yokai based, which that's a genre I love and I get into, but it started to feel redundant where here we do have a supernatural element. There's vampires and there's werewolves, but it's realistic. Like it's set during a time period that's not very common, which is the 1930s during like the Great Depression era. And you have our protagonist who it doesn't have supernatural powers. He's just a regular, like I said, a boy between the ages of like 18 and 21 who is trying to get out of the gang life and live a normal life, but got sucked back in because he wants to save this little girl. And now he is also sucked into a succession war. And I love that. Okay. I love that. Like, I'm actually wondering, like, who is going to be like the new boss, or even if the story is going to get that far to where there is a new boss, or are they going to be able to dismantle the whole entire Lakeside Fellas like crime organization, or are they going to have to keep somebody there so it doesn't create a power vacuum and then it creates a whole new monster? Because it's one thing, yes, vampires who are out here, you know, murking people just because they're hungry is a bad thing, but it's also a bad thing if you have a human who's just out here just murking people just to murk them. You know what I'm saying? And that's what Leo kind of gives, in the sense of when I look at some of the vampires that we have been introduced, and we've only been introduced to 3, it's giving that some of them do have a sense of code where it's like we're just not out here just killing randos, but then you do have some who are just doing that because they want to feed and feast. You know what I mean? But I think it's an interesting story and I'm looking forward to more chapters. I hope, like I truly hope it does not get axed and the author has to like rush to come up with an ending. I really do hope that it is a series that has a complete ending in its allotted time. One thing I really love about the series is the art style. It's beautiful. Like the shading and the like the eyes of each character. I just love it. And I love it when they kind of go to the quirky anime kind of drawing of when we see Lily being happy or when someone gets mad. Like it's the perfect combination and balance. So I really enjoy this series and I feel like you definitely should add it to your like read list because it's good. Also, the story also has me like thinking of my own theories. Like we get introduced to Kay and we find out that he is the handler and the director of the Night Hound organization. But he also, when he speaks to Jimmy, he tells Jimmy how like he doesn't really know who he is. So that makes me feel like, are you a vampire that gave up, you know, the need to feast on others, or are you something totally different? Because how have you been living this long and you have forgotten who you truly are? Because he ends up giving Jimmy his name, but he was like, I don't even remember my real name, so I just go by K, which makes me feel like you're a being that has existed either when the first vampire touched down in, you know, America, or maybe you are the original, because they tell us that the original vampire that came to America that started to create, you know, its underlings no longer exist. But I'm like, does he not exist? Or is that what K is? I don't know, but I'm glad that my mind is starting to come up with its own theories. Again, to me, that shows that it is a sign that the story is captivating and it's intriguing. So definitely, if you have time, check out the Nightlight Hounds. So, yeah, y'all, that is it. That is all. And as always, remember to be bravely authentic. And please definitely hop down in the comments below and share your thoughts, as well as if you like the video, give me a thumbs up and subscribe. And I'm out, y'all. Deuces.